Nvidia had a huge spike after hours only to start rolling. Hey everybody, in tonight's video we're going to go through top 5 stocks to watch for tomorrow. First we're going to just start with Nvidia. I'm going to just show you what we're dealing with after hours so you can understand this. And what we're going to do is just we're going to zoom out on this. Let's just start with a 1 minute. So you can see the movement here. Here's your long, green, nice bar. As we know, this is when the algos take effect. Try to get everybody in, and they're pretty much the only people that made money so far. Then we just have that cascading down, right? Don't go chasing waterfalls. And now you're flipping right here, and you're trying again. But this quarter was anything but stellar. You probably want to mark these 2 levels down. Subscribe to this channel, click all notifications because what we go over is extremely timely. I also post charts only for the community, and you see those only if you are subscribed. So we just take a look at what happened here. Nvidia third quarter EPS misses by 69 cents estimate. Sales 5.93, 5.77. So we beat on the revenue, but we didn't make any money. So the question is how? How did that happen? Now, there's some other notes that are coming out here right now where they're talking about crypto being weak. Data centers weren't as great as people were expecting. But there are some real staggering things here. This is a 50% decrease over earnings from $1.17 from the same period last year. That's not ideal for a growth company. And this decelerating earnings per share growth, it's somewhat scary, frankly, but the revenue side's really interesting. And at the time of recording this, we have not seen the conference call yet or heard the conference call yet. Now, it's possible that this trades its way back up to this 165.40 area ahead of the call. Maybe they don't want to be short ahead of it. I'm not really sure how this plays out, quite frankly. We're going to have to see how that acts on the conference call. To me, this was okay at best. There were some much better quarters out there, frankly, but you can see the outright confusion after hours on how to play this. If you take a look at the SOXS, which is the 3X Bear Fund, I mean, you had a 2-point range in a very short period of time. And that's a pretty solid move here. So I'm not really sure that you want to be chasing this after hours. Maybe after that conference call, we kind of take a look at Nvidia and see what's going on there. But with the way that it's just bouncing around in here, it's just conjecture. And when you start rolling like this, right, you're basically setting up an H formation. So you just need to be super careful, especially with what happened today with the market and the way we sold off. Now, one that was extremely clear in what happened was Cisco. Cisco just had an amazing quarter. Stock spikes up, tries to break out, goes, but at least you're consolidating in here. And if you look at this on a much longer time frame, you can just see this breakout out of that base. So this is a pretty solid move. So you can see it's actually growing faster than Nvidia, which is kind of scary when you think about it. But you're at 86 cents versus 84 cents. So you actually have earnings growth, right? That's nice. That's nice to see. You have quarterly sales growth, 13.6, right, versus a 13.31 estimate. So this is a really good quarter for Cisco. Now, we have been seeing some of these names, these more stodgy, more old school names, acting fairly well in this kind of environment, and kind of have a little bit of a cup here, trying to break out of this little base. Here's the level that I would just be watching for tomorrow if I was interested in playing that. I'd just be watching that 46.21 level. You know, the action really, if you're just more of a playing the volatility, it's going to be in some of these other names. But for me, looking at this, I really like this quarter. Now, ZIM came out with earnings earlier today, and I found this really fascinating to me. So what we saw after the earnings is it just the absolute drop, gap fill. Now, if we get rid of these indicators for a moment, and you just kind of take a look at where was our close and where did we get to. So let's just take that closing bar and look at that. It's literally a perfect gap fill. Comes back down, tests, and starts building again. Why am I looking at this? Because they're going to pay a $2.95 quarterly dividend. Okay, that's a huge dividend for a stock that's trading at $27 a share. Now, what I find interesting about this is I always go back and try and take a look at previous examples. And if you look at this, you can see before you had earnings and then you traded up after the sell-off, right? After you sold off, then you traded up again. Similar thing, this time was a long-legged doji. So when you see these kinds of patterns, right, you kind of want to pay attention to them. They sell us down only to reverse because people are going to start looking at it once it washes out and say, yes, it's washed out. I do want that dividend. It's a very healthy dividend to have. And I think people are going to want it in this kind of environment. So today, this stock dropped precipitously, and we all see it. And you might not know why, but Muddy Waters came out and issued a short selling report. Now, I really don't agree with this kind of strategy because it's kind of insane to me. They come out, they short the stock, or their clients, their institutional clients, short the stock, right? Then they come out and they tout things, and they're using all the buzzwords right now. Let me show you. So Muddy Waters is short D-Local. Our research leads us to believe DLO is likely a fraud. We also have concerns over its disclosures about controls of client funds. With what's going on at FTX, you couldn't say anything worse right now. Now, anyone is allowed to say anything that they want. The issue comes into play when they have that kind of sway where they literally are short the stock and then they just kind of stay short the position. They'll cover in like a day or two, and whether or not it actually plays out that way is completely irrelevant. The damage has been done to the company. So you're really going to have to watch this. I would imagine you're going to see bounces in these, and then those bounces, I would expect that you're going to see sales in those bounces. But names like this, you're probably just going to want to stay away from if you're not willing to just scalp them. I think it just makes sense to talk about this just because of the drop that you had. So you can see some level of retracement. The easiest thing to do for a retracement level is just put fib bands right on that long red bar. And that can kind of give you examples of where you could go to. See like that 1436 level. And then you just come over here and let's look at this right there today. So you can see us measured off, and you can kind of see these areas and how they actually are reflective, right? It's kind of interesting how that works. So I always like looking at fib levels like this. It's always fascinating to me how accurate they are sometimes. I mean, all they're really doing is charting human behavior. So, but again, we should probably go over Tesla and what happened there, and then go over the indexes. So this is far from ideal. So to me, this was setting up. It looked exhausted. We started trading up a little bit, and now you've broken down on this little pattern right here. This is not where I want to be. And from what I'm gathering, you're getting some negative news. You had some negative news about Electra saying that sales or interest in the car is not as great as it once was. That's obviously not ideal, but you see these levels and how you're forming this H here, right? After you had this bear flag that you broke down on. This is not ideal. So we're going to just have to watch this very closely. I thought we would at least bounce some, but you have this weight on you of Twitter, and he keeps changing his mind. I'm going to work there. I'm not going to work there. Now he says he wants a successor. So if he gets a successor and appoints somebody, that's great. But there's also a lot of conjecture about how much time this is going to take, and it's starting to really wear on it. But we did hold this point, and this is a pretty significant point in the chart, and we did hold that level. So tomorrow, just watch this 186.34 level. Watch that really closely. And do me a favor, comment below if you like when I go through the earnings, because what I'm looking at on the earnings front might be different than what is the most tradable tomorrow, right? They might be a little different. For example, Coinbase. Okay, this is one that it's not going to be anyone's surprise that I'm short. We've been talking about this short, and it was in Saturday as well. But I plan on staying short this. We shorted Hood in the trading community and did quite well with it today. So I don't know if you're more interested in hearing about what I'm doing or more interested in the timeliness of the news. And there's only so much time in these short daily videos. So any comments to kind of steer my direction is greatly appreciated. So now if you take a look at SPY, and you can just kind of see you're hanging in there, right? This is not really where I want to be. This is pretty much the exact opposite of where I want to be. And let me just show you why. So let's put that 200 up, and here's the 55, and there's my 22. So I'm getting up near this level, and what's starting to happen? I'm getting sleepy, right? Just like I got sleepy here, okay? So I don't know how this plays out. Nobody does. I do like the cross. We had a cross back here, and that cross led to a significantly larger move. I don't know what's going to happen here yet. We're going to have to really watch this very, very closely up at this 406.22 level. And I did get one sign I'm going to show you in a second that I'm not crazy about. Now you're here, right? So now I finally have a lower low, and I'm closing at the low. I don't view Nvidia's earnings as going to be positive for the market, and that, I hate to put it up, make it so blatant, but like one particular stock can absolutely weigh on us. Just one stock can weigh on us. So keep that in mind, especially with how sensitive we are to this market. Doesn't mean we're taking out lows, but it does mean that we could come down and just bounce around a little bit. Now, if you take a look at IWM, this is pretty much worst case for me for a day. And what do I mean by that? Well, here you are at the 200-day moving average. You run up to it. It's declining. You bounce right off of it. Trying again. Wick City, Wicks or what? Price rejection. But we have this long-legged doji, so we still have a chance because it used that as support. Support flipped to what today? Resistance. So now I've got this long-legged doji just hanging out up here, and now I'm breaking, and now I'm closing at the lows. Okay, that's not where I want to be at all. So this is a concern, and this is where I'm starting to see the first cracks. Again, one of the things I did say was make sure you follow through the community because I posted a chart last night. Actually, I should have gone today as well. I think I posted it today as well, where you have percentage of stocks above the 50-day. Here, let me show you. So this is percentage of stocks in the 50-day. Okay? And it shows you where you're at in the pecking order. So this is 2019. I'm just going to give you 3-4 years here. So every time you're up near this number, every time you're near this 80, you're setting up for a possible consolidation and you're setting up for a possible sell-off. It does not mean you're coming all the way back down to here. It just very simply means that everything is moved and so that maybe we're going to back off just a little bit. And these are usually places that we see some consolidation. I posted this and we also went over it, or I put it in last night's newsletter for the trading community. If you are not a member of the trading community and you are interested, there is a link here in the top right corner. It is on wait list right now. So also, if you sign up there, you get the newsletter. Even if you are currently getting the newsletter, unless you're in the wait list right now, the community will not be opened for the rest of the year. So that's it. If you have more questions, please reach out. Have a great evening, everybody, and trade to win tomorrow.